Okay, guys, welcome back to my channel. Um, this is a very interesting video because I've been wondering what in the world is going on with these teachers. Every month, there's a new case about some teacher having sex with 14 and 12-year-old boys. It just seems like an epidemic. Man, I wish I was friends with a psychiatrist that can break down what exactly is happening. Because I can only guess, like maybe these teachers were sexually assaulted when they were growing up, and because some people they just go back to what they know, which is that, or maybe it's domination. They like the fact that they can dominate a little kid. I don't know. So I wish I had a trained professional to break it down and tell me why do these teachers keep doing what they're doing. It's crazy. Anyway, let's watch the video. We're gonna watch this video from Danielle Christie. Make sure you go to her channel, like and subscribe, and share. Let her know that I sent you, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel as well. All right, let's go.
Today we are covering another predator that just so happens to be a teacher. How many are there out there? It's absolutely ridiculous. And the predator from today's case is a woman named Pamela Rogers, and she is disgusting like all of them.
I don't know what I was thinking, and it's clear that I wasn't thinking. I was blinded by emotions.
Because Pamela thought that she had it all. She thought that she was better than other people. She was prom queen when she was in school. She had a pretty successful modeling career. She then became a teacher and she became known as the hot teacher by her students. She even taught sex education herself sometimes, which is just truly disturbing. But there was one thing that Pamela's students and nobody actually realized is that Pamela was also a sex addict. And over time, she started acting more and more inappropriate with her students, being very flirtatious, wearing very revealing clothing, making very uncomfortable, disturbing, sexualized comments until it escalated into her targeting a student and becoming a predator.
What I did was wrong, and I'm deeply in regret of everything.
And that's what we are covering today, so let's jump in. And I just want to give a huge thank you to today's sponsor, and that is HelloFresh. And I've said this so many times now, but you guys know how much I love HelloFresh. I have been using HelloFresh for the longest time now, and quite honestly, I don't know how I used to live on the 1st of July 1977, making her a cancer. And she grew up in a small town called Clark Range in Tennessee, where she lived with her parents and her siblings. Now, Pamela lived Thank you to HelloFresh for sponsoring today's video, but thank you to every single one of you watching right now, because truly without all of you guys, I wouldn't get opportunities like this. And now let's jump into today's case. Pamela Rogers was born on the 1st of July 1977, making her a cancer. And she grew up in a small town called Clark Range in Tennessee, where she lived with her parents and her siblings. Now, Pamela lived what could be said as a typical small town childhood. She attended the local school, she had a lot of friends, she was also very athletic, she loved basketball, and basketball actually kind of ran in the family because her dad, Lamar, was actually the basketball coach for the high school girls basketball team, and the girls basketball team was actually a pretty big thing in this small community, and Lamar had been coaching the team for 29 years, so he was pretty well known. He even won state championships. And when Pamela started attending high school, she actually started playing basketball, and her dad was her coach, and the team had a lot of success when Pamela was playing on the team. So Pamela, she's not only good at athletics, she's also extremely popular. She was one of the so-called it girls. She was athletic, she was seen as good looking, everyone wanted to either be her or be friends with her. And when it came to her senior prom in 1995, Pamela was picked as prom queen. And to the outside world, and probably to herself, she was living the perfect life. So after graduating high school, Pamela then needed to decide, what was she going to do with her life? I mean, obviously she was very athletic. Was she going to do something there? Well, she actually decided that she wanted to start modeling. And she did this for a few years. She started off in bikini modeling. She actually worked for pretty big brands. Like, she did a campaign with Harley Davidson where she was posing on one of the motorbikes in her bikini, and she just did various other bikini photo shoots. And then in 1997, Pamela is currently 20 years old. This is when she got the biggest modeling job that she had gotten so far. And that is because in 1997, Pamela was crowned Miss Nitro. And this is not something I am an expert on, okay? So I may be wrong here, but from what I could find out online, these Nitro girls, because I think there's multiple, they are the women, like the models that appear at wrestling events. And they would either be dancing or modeling.
We are amongst the Nitro girls, and we're having a great time.
I'm not 100% sure, but it's basically in the wrestling world. And you can see clips online of Pamela doing this. She's wearing a red bikini and she has a ribbon around her that says Miss Nitro. And then she's called into the ring and she's essentially paraded around.
And let's hear a big spring break welcome. Pamela Rogers, huh? John, this, I don't know what to say, no.
And during the 90s, these wrestling gigs were huge. Millions of people tuned in to watch, so there would have been a lot of eyes on Pamela. And because of this, Pamela started to get more well known. She started to make a little bit of a name for herself. I mean, she had a lot of eyes on her, and this resulted in her getting more and more modeling gigs. And she is very, very busy for the next 5 years. But by the time Pamela gets to the age of 25, the work kind of dries up. She's not really getting that much work anymore, and she just feels like, yeah, this modeling thing, it's not for me anymore. Like, I've had my go at it. I've been successful. She now wanted a change in her life. And unfortunately, these changes in her life would lead to the very disturbing events of today's case. So we now get to 2003. Pamela is currently 26 years old and she gets married. She gets married to a man named Christopher Turner, who just so happened to be a high school basketball coach, just like her dad. So they definitely had things in common. Basketball was very important to both of them. And because they had similar interests, similar backgrounds, at first the marriage was really great.
Now I got a question. Why do girls do this? There's girls on TikTok talking about the war, talking about Trump, talking about whatever, and while they're talking, they're doing their makeup, and then this girl now is doing her makeup, talking about something that has nothing to do with makeup. Why do girls do that? It's weird to me. Ugh. Like you could do your makeup after or before the video.
And whilst Pamela is married, this is when she did decide to have a career change from modeling into, you guessed it, teaching. She probably got into teaching because her husband was a teacher and it just kind of felt like a natural path for her to go down. So she first gets a job at a school called Centertown Elementary in Tennessee. And yes, you heard that right. An elementary school. Now, I don't know much about the US school system because it's set up differently than in the UK, but I don't think that this elementary school is your typical elementary school, because this elementary school went from kindergarten age all the way up to 8th grade, which is approximately 13 to 14 years old. So it's almost like it's an elementary school and a middle school together. Is that what that would be? But anyway, Pamela gets a job as the physical education teacher, which made sense because she was very athletic. That was her background. She did very well on the school basketball team. Her dad was a basketball coach. Her husband is a basketball coach. She played sports when she was at college as well. And just to kind of round things off, she actually did become the girls' basketball coach. So yeah, she literally is following in her dad's footsteps. And at first, things go well for Pamela. She's able to teach at this elementary school for the first year without any incidents. Can we get a round of applause for the predator? Yes, yes, yes. She was a very popular teacher. The students seemed to really love her, and the students seemed to like her because she was young, she was fun. She was just the kind of teacher that the students wanted to be around. She wasn't like a regular teacher, you know? But it doesn't take long for Pamela to get a reputation, especially amongst the older boys that were in the school, because Pamela got the label of the hot teacher. And I think all of this went back to the fact that she was a model. The students in her school quickly found out about her modeling background, and because she was pretty successful, there are photos and videos of her online that her students could access. So this is exactly what the students did. The students found out that she was a Miss Nitro. They were able to access the videos and photos of her in a bikini, which is definitely inappropriate. And it soon spread around the school that she used to be a swimwear model, that she used to be Miss Nitro, and videos and photos of her were shared around the school. And the older boys in the school, so you've got to remember, even though I'm saying older, they're still only 13 and 14, they would start making comments about Pamela, or should I say Miss Rogers. They would start saying, "Oh, Miss Rogers, you're so hot, you're so attractive, oh, look at this photo of you in this bikini, blah, blah, blah." And I also read that for a few weeks, Pamela Rogers was actually the sex education teacher, which for a predator, no. And when she was teaching sex education, there were...
Maybe she's reliving her high school days. Maybe that's what it is. Or maybe she wasn't getting that attention when she was in high school, but now she's getting it as an adult. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's weird how often this happens. It is very, very strange.
Quite a few inappropriate comments said to her. But did she shut any of these comments down? I mean, she's the sex education teacher. Something that she should be teaching young boys and young girls is to respect other people, to respect their boundaries, to not say sexually inappropriate things to somebody else. That is what she should be teaching. So that would have been perfect for her to actually use that and say, hold on, this is not right. You shouldn't speak to others like this. But she didn't use it as a lesson. She actually welcomed the comments. And it blows my mind. It's like, what message is that sending those students? She actually enjoyed the attention of the younger male students, which is just disgusting. It's like, why are you thriving on comments being made to you by children? Like, you're a grown-ass woman. Like, you're an adult. Why do you want the attention of young boys? There is just something wrong in her head. And things just start to get even more inappropriate from this moment on. Because we now get to 2004, just over a year into Pamela's marriage and about a year into her teaching job. Well, this is where things start to go very wrong in Pamela's home life. Because she is no longer getting along with her husband. They're just always arguing and fighting. They stop spending time together, they stop really talking, and their sex life basically becomes non-existent. And one thing that would actually come out later in the case is that Pamela is actually a sex addict, and she was no longer getting sex from her husband, and she was really struggling with this, which is no excuse. No excuse whatsoever. But in Pamela's mind, she was like, oh, well, I'm not getting sex from my husband, so I need to get it from somewhere else. And I'm like, well, that's okay. Get sex wherever you want, but just not from children. Just go and get sex from another consenting adult. Is it really that hard? Why do you have to go for children? Like, why? Because Pamela, she's feeling really sorry for herself. Her marriage is breaking down and she wants attention from other people, i.e., teenage boys. So this is when Pamela starts to encourage more than ever the inappropriate behaviour and comments from the teenage boys to herself. She was lapping it all up. She started being really flirtatious with these boys. She started wearing more and more revealing clothing to work. And she's just loving all of the attention that she is getting. And she starts to get a lot of attention from one boy in particular. Now, his identity has been protected, so we will just call him Boy A. And Boy A is very significant to the rest of today's case. So Boy A was just 13 years old. Yeah, 13. Crazy. He's a child. And he was currently in 8th grade and he was on the basketball team. So I assume that that is how himself and Miss Rogers knew each other. Boy A was also reportedly very tall for his age, very mature for his age, and apparently he went through puberty earlier than his peers. Like, that makes a difference. He's still 13. The reporting on this case that we are covering today was absolutely disgusting. It's like, why does that matter? I don't care how tall he is. He's 13. That is all the information that we need to know. That is all the information that Pamela needed to know that he is off limits. So Pamela and boy A, they start to get closer. This 27-year-old woman starts flirting with a 13-year-old child. And boy A, he starts flirting back. He started saying pretty inappropriate sexualized comments towards his teacher, and Pamela, she didn't shut them down. No. She loved it. She was lapping it up. Boy A started to say that he wanted to meet up with Miss Rogers after school. He also said that he should come over and visit her at her home where they could do very inappropriate things. And I just don't even know why an adult would even entertain any of this. I just don't understand. In fact, during one physical education lesson, Pamela's home key was on her keychain and it was just hanging up in the locker room. And boy A took her home key off of her keychain and said that he was going to make a copy of the key so he could let himself into her home, which is obviously very inappropriate for a student to do. But Pamela, she didn't seem to have a problem with this. Oh no, of course she didn't. This is exactly what she wanted. And I just want to stress here that I am not blaming boy A for any of this. He's a child. I mean, obviously what he is doing is not appropriate, but again, he's a child and it doesn't matter what he does. He's a child. Pamela is the adult. She should be shutting it down. She should not be encouraging this behaviour. And I don't know if he actually did make a copy of her house key, but I wouldn't be surprised. And Pamela never reported it. She never stopped him. So now we get to November of 2004, and this is when things really start to change and move very quickly. Because at this point, Pamela's home life was completely falling apart. Her husband had told her that he was filing for divorce. There were accusations of cheating, gambling, and drugs in the marriage, and we don't know who was accusing who of that, but if I'm going to take a wild guess, I'm just going to guess here that it was Pamela's husband that was accusing Pamela of all of those things. And she probably was doing those things, but anyway. So Christopher, Pamela's husband, ended up kicking Pamela out of their shared home. So Pamela needed somewhere to stay. And I really cannot believe I'm about to say this, because in what world does this happen? But Pamela ends up going to live at boy A's home. How did that end up happening? Well, apparently Pamela was friends with boy A's mom, which makes all of this 10 times worse, that she was friends with boy A's mom, and she uses her friendship with boy A's mom to further target boy A. So when Pamela needed somewhere to stay, she got in contact with boy A's mom and asked if she could stay at their home. Now, they were friends. Boy A's mom really liked Pamela. She thought that she was a good teacher. She thought that she was a good basketball coach. And she saw Pamela as a hardworking teacher who had done amazing things for her son's basketball career. And she felt sorry for Pamela that she had nowhere to live. So boy A's mom opened up her home to a predator, and she didn't even know. So Pamela is now living with boy A, living under the same roof as the child she is targeting. And of course, she is incredibly inappropriate with boy A in his own home, not in front of boy A's mom, of course. And boy A's mom had no idea that she had opened up her home to a predator who was making inappropriate sexual advances towards her 13-year-old child. And it just makes it so much worse that she has infiltrated boy A's home where he's supposed to feel safe. And things go on like this. And it's not that difficult to guess, but things get worse. It doesn't take long for things to now reach the next level, because one day boy A was sat at home on his computer. This was in 2004, the era before smartphones. Social media had only really just started to become popular. Kids used to sit on their computer, they used to dial up to the internet, and they used to log on to things like MSN Messenger to talk to their friends. MySpace was only just becoming a thing, and people's mobile phones didn't have the internet. They didn't have smartphones. They used to just use mobile phones to text one another. And I can still hear the internet dial-up sound right now. I can hear it. So on this evening, Boy A was on his computer. He was hanging out with his friend Justin, and they were chatting to other friends on the internet, probably using MSN. And this is when Boy A receives a message from Miss Rogers. Now, the timeline is not completely clear at this point because I think Miss Rogers, Pamela, had moved out of Boy A's home at this point, which is why she's contacting him over message and not talking to him in person. But again, I could be wrong. She could just be in another room messaging him on the internet. But anyway, what does the message say that Pamela has sent Boy A? The message simply says, "I think you're cute." That was it. And even that alone is inappropriate for a teacher to be sending their student. So Boy A and his friend Justin are just there. They're laughing. They think that this is all funny. I mean, they're children. They're not grasping the gravity of this situation and what Pamela is doing. Because Pamela, let's just put it plain and clear, she is grooming Boy A. So Boy A and his friend Justin, they're joking around. They're laughing. They think that the whole thing is funny. And Boy A says to his friend, "What should I write back?" And eventually they decide to write back, "I think you're hot." And the flirtatious messages now continue from here until eventually Pamela invites Boy A around to her apartment, which is why I am assuming that Pamela no longer lives with Boy A because she has her own apartment. So when Boy A is at the apartment, this is when Pamela says to Boy A that she wants to have sex with him. And Boy A was not insinuating at all that this is what he wanted to do. I mean, he's 13, he's a child. It doesn't even matter if he was the one saying this. He's a child and it doesn't matter. But Boy A, he thought that he was just having some fun, just flirting with a teacher. He had never had sex. I mean, he's only 13. He was completely inexperienced in sexual relationships and the dynamics involved. And Pamela is completely taking advantage of him. And it has been reported that Boy A was apparently excited about the prospect of having sex with Pamela. But like I've already said, it doesn't matter. He's only 13. He's a minor. He cannot give consent to this. And you've also got to realise that he has been groomed into believing this, into believing that this is okay, that this is normal and healthy, which it categorically is not. However, Pamela goes ahead with her plan anyway. She lures this 13-year-old boy over to her apartment where she rapes him for the first time. And I say rape because it doesn't even matter if it was consensual because Boy A is 13. A minor, a child. He can't consent. But things don't stop there because from that moment on, Pamela sexually assaults Boy A on multiple occasions. She continues to invite him over to her apartment. And according to legal documents, all sorts of sexual acts occurred when they were in her apartment, such as penetration with fingers, oral sex, and vaginal penetration. But the sex didn't only occur in Pamela's apartment. No, it happened in multiple locations. Pamela also assaulted Boy A in her car after school. She also raped Boy A on school property. And I just don't know how she was so bold to do that. And she's not the first predator that has been a school teacher to do that. And I just don't understand. How are they so bold to sexually assault children on school property where anybody could walk in and see? So according to legal reports, Pamela assaulted Boy A in classrooms, in the locker room. She even raped Boy A in the large school gym. And again, I'm like, how was she so bold to do that? And she obviously did get away with it, for now anyway. But something else just so sick and twisted is that Pamela came up with different ideas on how she could get access to Boy A's home again. So we already know that Pamela lived there for a short period of time. Well, now Pamela makes up any excuse to stay there again. So she says to Boy A's mom, "Oh, my heating has stopped working in my apartment," or "my water is being turned off." And Boy A's mom, because she saw Pamela as someone she could trust, she saw her as a friend, and Pamela had already lived there for a short period of time, Boy A's mom said, "Oh, don't worry, you can just stay in my home." And Boy A's mom would give Pamela the guest bedroom for the evening. And in the middle of the night, Pamela would get up and sexually assault Boy A in his own home, when his mom is home. And I just feel so sorry for the mom of boy A because she just thought that she was doing a good deed. She thought that she could trust Pamela. She did not think Pamela was a sexual predator that was preying on her son. And Pamela is just completely abusing that trust, taking advantage of it by trying to get more access to the home and raping boy A in his own bedroom without his mom knowing, in the same house as his mom. Apparently, boy A also had a girlfriend that was the same age as him at this point, so a fellow 13-year-old girl. Boy A actually breaks up with this 13-year-old girl, and this 13-year-old girl has no idea why. But boy A broke up with his girlfriend because he thought that he was in a relationship with Miss Pamela Rogers. Pamela and boy A are now spending so much time together outside of school hours. Pamela would apparently, quote, follow him around night and day, and she would call him 5 to 6 times every single day. She was so obsessed. She's basically stalking him as well as grooming and assaulting him. They would also be seen hanging out in the town, going for long romantic walks. And again, I'm just like, what the actual hell? Why is she being so out in the open about it? She really does think that she can get away with this. Because I don't know this for sure, but I can guarantee you people saw them together. Miss Rogers would also walk boy A home after school. She would attend all of his basketball games. She would be there in the front row cheering him on. And it's just like all of this added together. This is just so creepy, so inappropriate. And this is just what she's doing out in the open, let alone what she's doing behind closed doors. But despite all of this creepy, inappropriate behaviour, no one raised the red flag. No one reported what Miss Rogers was doing. At least, not yet anyway. So right now, the relationship continues. There was even a time when boy A's friend Justin, remember Justin? Well, Justin saw Pamela and boy A together and he went up to speak to them. And this is when Pamela revealed to Justin that they were in a relationship, that they were having sex. Yeah, Pamela has just revealed that to Justin. She is now essentially bragging to another teenager that she's having sex with another teenager. She told Justin that herself and boy A had recently had sex in the school gym, and it is speculated that Pamela was actually saying all of this to Justin because she actually had her eyes set on Justin as well. Sexually assaulting one child was not enough for her. She had her eyes on the next victim. However, thankfully, she wouldn't be able to do this because things are soon about to catch up to Miss Rogers. And this is thankfully where we get to Pamela's downfall, because we now get to February of 2005, which is 3 months after Pamela started abusing boy A initially. But obviously, it probably went on for a lot longer than that because she was grooming him. And over those 3 months, Pamela had sexually assaulted boy A on a number of occasions, in a number of different locations, in a number of different ways. Well, this is when someone finally decided to report her. And we don't know who reported her. It was an anonymous tip. It may have even been Justin. It may have even been boy A himself. We just don't know. But to be honest, it could have been any number of people because Pamela wasn't exactly hiding her relationship with boy A. But on the 4th of February, Pamela Rogers was arrested. And she was charged with 15 counts of sexual battery by an authority figure and 13 counts of statutory rape. Wow. 13 times she raped boy A. I just can't believe that she raped him that many times. And there possibly was more rapes than that. Over a 3-month period as well. What she put that boy through, she's absolutely disgusting. So she was taken into custody, but unfortunately she was given bail. And this was a massive story. And as usual, because Pamela was seen as attractive, a lot of people paid attention to this story. And this is obviously 2005. Tabloid newspapers and magazines were a big deal back then, and Pamela's picture was splashed all over them. This case actually made national news.
Raising her right hand just months after raising a firestorm, 28-year-old Pamela Rogers could barely respond.
And this next thing makes me so angry because people actually debated whether Pamela had done anything wrong. I literally want to scream. People actually thought, oh, well, she's an attractive teacher. He's a 13-year-old boy. He was asking to have sex. He wanted it. Oh, he's so lucky. Is this even a crime? I mean, he was consenting. And that makes me want to scream. She is a child sexual predator. It doesn't matter her gender, it doesn't matter what she looks like, and it doesn't matter who her victim is and how old they are if they are a minor. All that matters is that she is an adult and he is a child. It is that black and white. On top of that, she was also a teacher. She was in a position of power and she raped a student on multiple occasions. And people are really debating whether she did anything wrong. No. Following the news breaking, Boy A was pulled.
It's called pretty privileges. That's what it's called. She's privileged because she's beautiful and she's blonde. Life just isn't fair. Look at that other guy that he went to jail for murder or something, but the internet crashed because all these women thought he was so handsome. His name is Jeremy Meeks. He gets out of prison, and the next thing you know, he gets a modeling contract, and then he leaves his wife for a billionaire heiress. So he gets a modeling contract and a billionaire girlfriend, and he's living his best life. Why? Because he's handsome and pretty. Life isn't fair, but that's just how it goes. Anyways, I think I'm done with this video. But if you guys want to see the rest of it, you can just go to her channel to finish it off, because there's not too much of it left. Go to Danielle Christie's channel and check her out. Let her know I sent you. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel also. And have yourselves a good day. Catch you on the next one. Peace.